vanish. The government refuses to pay. I'm telling you right now, on October 15th, the military will also miss their checks. If you or somebody you know has missed a paycheck, worked for the government, hasn't been paid, or going through something, make sure you let me know down in the comments below. But more importantly, guys, bank accounts are being wiped out overnight. And this is crazy. If you have a elderly parent, scams are on the rise. I'm talking about they're even getting people that's savvy. If you yourself, do me a favor, check on your parents, check on those that are elderly that may be susceptible to this, but also you make sure you're on top of your game. Check this out.
Please stop what you're doing. Listen, please, 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 please. The scariest scam just happened to us. I'm still very shaken. It didn't even happen to me. Please send this to your parents. If you have older parents, if you have older grandparents, please send this to them or let them know that this is happening, okay? So about half an hour ago, my husband got a call from my phone number. It had my picture, it had my name, everything about it. It was my number. It was like a regular call. He didn't even think anything of it, answered the phone. On the other line was a guy saying he was holding me hostage and was going to shoot me if my husband did not transfer him money through Zelle.
Jesus.
My husband immediately started texting our good friend that's in the FBI, and that guy instructed him to keep the guy on the phone and try to have that guy put me on the phone. Like, if he really had me, put me on the phone. So Josh my husband is keeping him on the phone, trying to tell him to put me on the phone. In the meantime, he's also tracking my phone. Well, I happen to be at the hospital because my son had a doctor's appointment. So our FBI friend leaves work and is headed to me to make sure everything's okay. Josh was able to drag this phone call out for 5 minutes. And in the meantime, this guy is asking for, he's getting hostile and he's asking for the money via Zelle. My husband's like, I don't know what Zelle is. Do you have Venmo? Because he's just like trying to prolong the conversation. He's like, I really need to talk to her. I need to make sure she's okay. After about 5 minutes of this, he still wouldn't put me on the phone, obviously, because I wasn't there. So Josh, my husband, hung up and called me right back, and I answered, and he was like freaking out, right? Anyways, the scariest part of all this is that they call from your number and they knew everybody's names. So please spread the word that this is a new scam, because it is very realistic. It is very terrifying. And I know that a lot of people would just give them account numbers to get their loved ones back. Gosh, just spread the word, please. Hopefully, if we spread it far and wide, we can squash this and it will stop being a thing.
Prefacing this video by saying that this is not my usual content. However, I feel compelled to hop on and share a PSA about a really horrifying scam that is going around right now, and that actually happened to my family in the middle of the night last night. I have seen a few people talking about this like on Instagram and on Facebook and in a couple of like Facebook groups that I'm in, but it's one of those things that you see it and you're like, dang, that's crazy, but you never really think that it could happen to you. Around 3:30 this morning, while we were all sleeping, my brother and I both received a call from my mother's phone. It was her contact number, it was her contact photo, it was even like what was named in our separate phones for her. So in my phone, she is Mama, and in my brother's phone, she is Mom, and it came up like as her contact in both of our phones when we were both called. And for context, I live about 30 minutes out from Atlanta. My brother lives in Atlanta, and my parents live also in the same.
Okay, let's leave this loop open here. Pretty crazy, the professionalism of some of these extreme hustlers. It is scary, very scary. Market's also scary. Let's jump into a bit of AMD lore. The chart is, well, looks easier to buy now, honestly. And let's jump into the bit of market correction that just happened. Boy, oh boy, was it a correction. So, here goes. Time to jump into a little breakdown here. So, there is one stock that is about to break out, in my opinion. It is an AMD. It's AMD. I was going to say it's a rare earth stock without... I don't know what I'm saying here. This is my first video in a while. Fuck this. Excuse me. It's really hard to make stock to buy videos when the market's going down, even though this is a good one to buy. It's just counterintuitive. There's one stock to buy. It is a semiconductor stock. With the market recently coming down significantly, it does offer a buying opportunity if you're positioned in the right stocks. Now, this ticker has had a lot of buzz about it recently due to its OpenAI deal. The ticker is AMD, and the reason it's the right time to buy is there was some euphoria after it went up 40% in a day on this partnership with ChatGPT, OpenAI. And with the market correction, it's actually brought AMD down to a level where it's once again buyable. I don't consider stocks that are up 40, 50%, in a day buyable in most cases. And I'm not saying everything's about numbers and percentages, but it is the stock market, so it certainly helps to take a look at the stock prices as opposed to just the news. The news is significant. I'm not saying that Trump coming out and there's even a China response at this point to the tariffs. China, you could say, started it by saying we're not going to give the U.S. rare earths anymore. Some U.S. rare earth companies shot up as well, but some of them are less viable than others. AMD is the behemoth that had recent big news and is now, due to this coincidental timing of this Trump Truth Social quote-unquote tweet, AMD is at a buyable level again. So let's jump into the levels. Let's jump into a little bit about the market news. Okay, everyone wants to know what happened, what's going to happen. No one knows. That's why it's not really that interesting to make a video about, in my opinion. But there are stocks that are now coming back to reasonable levels to buy, and that's interesting.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
So this is AMD. This is the market, right? The market unwound like 8%, okay? So let's do a little napkin math here. If you had all your money in stocks, which is a little aggressive, right? But when you're aggressive, you also make big gains. I mean, in September, we went up 6%. Okay, we pretty much unwound that in one day. But when you're in individual stocks, when you're concentrated in individual stocks, in September, you experienced some of these big gains. I mean, RGTI went 170%. So it's not about the market only going up 6%. It's the fact that if you're in the right individual stocks, you do experience much bigger gains. Okay, RGATI, a quantum name. Nuclear names are also one that experienced big gains over 100%. Even some names that had already gone up a lot. I mean, some were a little more difficult, but Palantir did go up 20%. This is a massive company that still had a 20% boost. So let's say your whole account, you have a 500K account. Let's say your whole account was in 5 names, okay? Let's say it was in Palantir. Let's say it was in RGTI. Let's say it was in Oklo. And then maybe, we're not going to give you all the credit, or whoever all the credit. Let's say you were also in Netflix for whatever reason, and that just went sideways, okay? So that's 4 stocks. And then let's say the last stock you were in, God forbid, not crypto, not a hyper leveraged crypto altcoin, and you weren't on hyper leverage, on a lot of leverage on Bitcoin itself or Ethereum, but let's say you maybe bought a crypto related stock, okay? Iron, okay? Now, this transitioned to a data center play, so I'm not going to give this example that much credit. Maybe it's something a little gnarlier that had a gnarlier pullback here. And, you know, this pullback actually was pretty gnarly, so maybe it's a good example. But how about a BMNR, okay? A stock that hasn't moved much in the last month, okay? And still had a bit of a pullback. So this went sideways as well for the last month. So in general, those 5 stocks, BMNR went sideways, Netflix went sideways, RGTI went up over 100%, over 150%, Oklo went up over 100%, and I already forgot the 5th one, but in general, let's say your average return on all those positions was like 30%, okay? Pretty awesome for 1 month, but it was also one of the most insane months for all these stocks, okay? And for the market as a whole, it wasn't like the craziest move up. This was the craziest move up after the initial tariff capitulation. This was pretty good as well, you know, another 5% or so. It's been a bull market. This was pretty good, another 4%, you know, say July, August, and then September. Pretty good as well, but now pulled back, okay? If you're just invested in the market, yeah, I mean, you're back to square September 1st. I'm not going to say square one because only a month ago you were at the level that you're at now, okay? So the only people that really got owned on Friday were the altcoin leveraged crypto bros, okay? Even if you were leveraged on Bitcoin or Ethereum, I mean, it was really bad. I mean, this is a candle that's what, like 15% almost, okay, from top to bottom. Maybe 10 to 12%, depending on how you measure candles. This is 24 hours, which is fitting for a crypto chart that crypto does trade 24 hours. Yeah, if you're leveraged, you're going to have a bad time. And I mean a really bad time. If you bought some of these altcoins, I mean, you can't view altcoin ETFs because they're not tradable through this broker, this chart software, this Thinkorswim, Schwab ETF. These are ETFs, XXRP. The Solana one is SOLT. Yeah, I mean, they went down, but they didn't go down like a crazy amount. I mean, yeah, it's bad. Went down 40% and then bounced up 25%. It's only really bad, though, if your whole portfolio is in one of these, which is certainly not something I preach and not that most people think is a good idea. So with all that backdrop in mind, your portfolio probably, if you were in the stocks I mentioned, I mean, sure. Would it have been great for your stock portfolio to just continue moving up like Oklo? Yes. Is that realistic? Not at all. I mean, there's going to be some pullbacks. Yes, some of these stocks did have little pullbacks on Friday, but in general, It just wasn't that big a deal compared to people who were wholly invested in, say, leveraged futures on Bitcoin or Ethereum, or even worse, the altcoins, some of which went down more than 50%. Okay? But if you're in some of these companies like IONQ and Quantum, maybe Oklo and Nuclear, maybe Palantir, maybe Netflix, and maybe BMNR, those are the 5 examples. Let's say you had 20% of your account in each of those 5 stocks. Then say in aggregate you were up, say, very conservatively, I'll make it even more conservative now, 15% in the last month. Okay? Maybe in aggregate you're now only up, say, 5% in the past month. Okay? It's still pretty good. So unless you're really hopping in and out and you just happen to get caught in, say, putting like 30% of your portfolio in a crypto related company like BMNR, then yes, okay, when this goes from 60 to 50, which is whatever it is, 8 to 10%, and let's say maybe you sold at the bottom and you really got hosed for 20%. Yeah, if you put almost half your portfolio and then it goes down 20%, your whole portfolio is going to take a 10% haircut and your 500K becomes 450K in a single day. For most people, they were not in that situation on Friday. So was it bad? It was, but only if you were wholly invested in the market itself. And even then, this is only, 5% maybe from 670 to 650, right? So that's pretty much the wrap up on that. So do we want to be concerned? Could this drift down to probably not below, early February initial tariff worries, but could it drift down, digest to a little above that line? It certainly could, but it might take a couple weeks, a week or so at least, of chop to get there. And again, that was kind of expected anyway. We were up a lot. So this is sort of a much not expected pullback to have it look like this, but realistic pullback that this was sort of long overdue. And now we might just sort of drift down a little. Monday might be like a bad red day. It might, okay? We might come down all the way, say, to this gray line, this 100-day moving average of the SPY, which would be like 640 or something. But it's unlikely to be a total just second, Black Monday situation where it goes down 10% tomorrow. So as of the time of this video, I think there is a buying opportunity no matter what happens tomorrow, and that's AMD. And the reason is everyone was worried or FOMOing or ROMOing, right? Regret of missing out on this massive 30-40% move in a day, or 2 or 3, however you want to measure it. And now we're getting a little digestion where there's a lot of volume on this day, October 6th, which is this big day, and you can risk off that 208 level, the close level. You see the close up here, whatever it is, 208-ish, 207-ish, and it came down, it kind of touched that, tested that, and then came back up, okay? So was that exactly related to AMD, or was it just an expression of the market itself? It doesn't really matter. The point is, the price of the stock's down here where it closed, 215, and now you're getting really close to being able to risk a close level, 207, whatever, maybe 212 if you want to risk up here, have a closer risk. So you can buy, only risk a few bucks. And yes, are there cases where you can't really risk a few bucks because the market could just pull again? I mean, if you were risking a few bucks here, which I wouldn't have recommended, I wouldn't think that's a good idea because it's so extended. But if you were, and then this happens, yeah, unless you were at your computer or you had stop orders in place, yes, you may have only intended to risk a few bucks a share, but then you suddenly risked 20 bucks a share, okay? But is this kind of day likely to happen consecutively? Probably not. There have been a few cases where it did happen, right? What really comes to mind is these days, sort of the pre-capitulation days. These were pretty massive days. This day in particular was negative about 7%, so that's pretty similar to Friday's move, okay? Give or take. I mean, Friday's move was actually only like 4%, but I think this looked so bad just because we had been marching up so much, when in fact it's sort of overdue. So I don't think it's too much to be up in arms about. If we can go from 530 to 500 overnight, lose 30 points when it's at 530, and then you go from 670-ish to 650, lose 20 points. You know, it is what it is. AMD is the stock that is now in a good buying opportunity spot. And could we come down a little bit further tomorrow? And then as of the time you're watching this video, if it's after tomorrow, maybe we've digested, chopped a bit, and really don't have much more to go down. There's going to be some buying opportunities. And I think a stock that already had a ton of interest and is now getting pushed down could be a good one to get into. So that is the idea, AMD. If you like these videos, hit that like button. But if you like timely stock ideas, head over to stockscommunity.com. You can try it out for $25 for 7 days. If that's a lot of money for you, don't join. But if you want to ask some questions, there's a weekly Q&A in there as well that's live. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit that. I will see you in the next one. Think green, but be careful. And look for buying opportunities even when it seems like everyone's worried, right? Good luck.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
Town as me, like 15 minutes away, so we were all at separate households. I received the call first, but I did not answer because I didn't hear it. It was 3:30 in the morning. I had my phone on vibrate. I didn't hear it go off. My brother happened to have his phone on loud. He received the call second, and he did answer because he heard it ringing and he thought something was wrong. When he answered the phone, he immediately heard what sounded like my mom, a woman's voice that sounded just like her, just crying hysterically and screaming. And so he obviously like freaked out and was like, "Mom, what's wrong? Like, is there something wrong with Dad? Like, what's going on?" And then before like she could say anything, a man came on the phone and said, "I'm going to kill this bitch if you don't wire me $2,500. This man is like yelling over the phone, super aggressively, like demanding money, like saying he's going to murder my mother if he does not get money. The older brother is very level-headed, but at this point, he's obviously like freaking out. He had not heard of this scam before. I had heard of it before, but even if I had gotten that call, I probably still would have lost my shit because I'm not as level-headed in.
All right, let's level set this market here. Jump into another breakdown here. It's been quite a crazy Friday, but I think there's some buying opportunities. There's one stock that is about to skyrocket. It is a rare earth stock. rare earths is important because in response to, it's murky as to who exactly started what, right? But massive market move down on Friday. Trump had a Truth Social tweet saying that there's going to be tariffs on China because they don't want to supply the U.S. with rare earths. And in response to that, the market went down quite a lot, okay? The market did go down quite a lot when Trump started talking about tariffs earlier in this year. I mean, that was like a 20-30% move down. Not 30%. We'll look exactly at the percents, but the important part is Friday was scary, okay? Because September went up every single day, it's felt like, and we basically retraced all of September in a single day for the market as a whole. So Saturday happened. Trump hasn't said anything. Sunday's happening. We're going to see how futures open up. And as of the time of this video coming out and you watching it, things might be rosier. They might have another down day on Monday. But what we do know is that rare earths are in the spotlight. And some rare earth tickers did experience some gains on Friday. And there's one ticker, MP Materials. One company that I think is the company to invest in right now amid this rare earths uncertainty. If you like this type of idea, hit that like button.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is the chart for MP Materials Corporation. This is the move on Friday. And it might seem like, oh, okay, what's the big deal? You know, it had some big days here, it had some bigger days here. And it's like, well, the big deal is if we can sort of zoom in and look at this overlay, this is the SPY in the background. The SPY went down a lot from 670 down to about 650 and change, which is a lot. That's 20 points on a 600 point, index. So whatever that is, that's maybe 4%, something like that. And now people are wondering what's going to happen on Monday. So if the SPY can go down a couple percent in a day, 3% or more, and pretty much give up what looks like most of September's gains, then what's going to happen now. So that's the challenge. When something goes down a few percent, it actually takes more than a few percent to go back up to the same level, right? That's the sort of mathematical gimmick that is the problem with drawdowns. But if you didn't have your whole position, your whole account in the market as a whole, aka SPY, aka QQQ, whatever ETFs you're talking about, the small cap index is actually similar, and not that realistic that you would have all your net worth in a small cap index. That would be a little crazy, I would think. But we're going to see what happens when futures open up. Today, as of the time of recording this video, this is Sunday, October 12th, and rare earth stocks went up. I mean, there are companies like USAR that, have lifted off, and then on Friday that helped them as well. There are companies like CRML, which I'm hesitant even to mention. This is a penny stock with crazy volume, but it did have a green day on Friday. But it has to be MP in terms of building out a base for multiple months, really, at this point, and having a higher low here and having a green day on Friday. Is this definitely going to have a green day on Monday, given all the euphoria around rare earth companies, U.S. rare earth companies? Maybe not. Maybe the market will pull back more And, it could just be a whole run for the exits, and we could come down to, 635 and have another 4% down day or something like that. I don't think that's like the most likely case given the extremeness of Friday's move. We'll probably, for the next week or so, chop down somewhere around this level that we sort of hit here, here. Not necessarily because the market sort of went sideways here in August. I mean, it didn't really go sideways. It went up a little bit, but this was ugly at the beginning of August, right? I think we're going to get some chop, kind of like back in August. And it will lead to some buying opportunities. I did mention AMD, but MP Materials has to be the rare earth company that has some eyeballs in it, on it, and some opportunity in it. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to come down and hold above this level, which you hit here and here. This is a lot of volume, but we'll see. And there have been some moves in the past for MP that have been pretty extreme. This was the $400 million Department of, I believe, energy investment back in early, that would have been July, followed by the Apple deal, where MP sort of has an agreement with Apple. So this is the behemoth in the rare earth space. There's a bunch of sort of rapid fire press releases that are going to come out tomorrow, that came out on Friday, that don't really strike me as constructive and just sort of spike your cortisol, and don't have a lot of new information. So yeah, I mean, Trump is considering this increase in tariffs. The sector gained after China's Commerce Ministry announced that foreign suppliers must obtain approval to export certain products containing rare earth materials. Okay, so that's the problem, and this could be the solution. And the question becomes, how much do you basically trust MP for being that rare earth supplier? So they did have some agreements with Apple, some agreements with the government. ChatGPT is hallucinating a little bit here, but I don't think you can just throw all your net worth in these rare earth materials, or even say 30% of your net worth. I think that's crazy to jump into these rare earth companies, even if MP Materials is the most likely one, in my opinion, to be a vehicle for your wealth creation in the next couple days to a week, given the market sort of selling off. I do think that all of these headlines are a little bit possibly overblown and definitely repetitive and not all that constructive. Looking at the chart is bad. You could be a day trading dip buyer down here, but I don't think that's really where you want to invest your time long term. So I do think USAR and CRML are worth watching to see if they digest a little bit after the next couple of weeks, and then maybe have a leg up. I think this is a good initial euphoria for those sort of more penny stock sort of de-spec, evolving into real company names. But I do think that MP Materials is the name right now. And if you're unfamiliar with it, this is basically the partnership from the Department of Defense. I wasn't sure if it was Defense or Energy. Is Department of Defense, which is actually almost, you could say, more intriguing from an investor perspective, because their partnerships might last longer and might have a bigger budget Department of Defense versus Department of Energy. And there's the whole national security implications. And then this agreement with Apple is also nice to have a little bit of diversification away from the government. And $500 million is no joke. And this $200 million prepayment is also no joke. So that's the company and why it has some legitimacy. That's the chart and why it has some expectation of a move to the sideways, or at least to the upside, or at least to the side for a bit, and then start to move up amidst a very difficult time to pick stocks to buy, which is right now, after the stock market just had a big move down, because a lot of charts that may have looked interesting suddenly don't look interesting anymore. In fact, Apple itself being one of the largest examples of that, on sort of a year-long breakout. You could call it a multi-year breakout that failed. Okay, a lot of people were anticipating that this could be pretty interesting, and of course now we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. It could be after the earnings, after the Apple event. Now this is no longer as interesting as it was, but that's what we do as investors, mid to long-term investors. We don't just hop in the SPY and get crushed on a day like Friday. We do hop in stocks that we think make sense. I think MP makes sense for some portion of your portfolio going into next week. And if you like these videos, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit that subscribe. And if you like talking about stocks, if you want to do so in a community, you have some questions you want to ask me, head over to stockscommunity.com, try it out for $25 for 7 days, and I will see you in the next video. Not financial advice. Good luck. Manage your own risk. And the market, Friday was bad, but it's unlikely to go down to, February levels, which was where we had that initial tariff slowdown. In my opinion, no one's a macro magician, but everyone wants to know what's going to happen, so I have to say something.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
Okay. Excuse me. I think I've got some foliage sniffles here. Fortunately, Chris Sane
high
can help
pressure
us.
situations like that, I probably would have been freaking out. But even he was freaking out. But he had his work phone on him, so he was on his normal personal phone, and on his work phone, he immediately opened up Life 360, which if you do not have Life 360 for your family and your entire family on there, highly recommend it. It is such a good resource just to keep tabs on where everyone is and making sure everybody is safe if there's any situation like this, or any situation just in general, car accidents, anything like that. Life 360 is a lifesaver. So he opened up his Life 360 and he saw that both my parents were seemingly at home, which obviously doesn't mean that they're out of danger. It just means that he had eyes on them. He knew where they were. So once he knew that they were both there, he starts trying to call my dad's phone from his work phone while he's on the phone with this guy. And my dad's not answering because, again, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't hear my phone ring. Nobody's hearing their phone ring. So he's calling me, he's calling my dad, and he's trying to get a hold of somebody to figure this out. After a little bit, he's not totally convinced that there's no danger involved, but he is starting to see red flags. He hears a baby crying in the background all of a sudden, which my parents don't have a baby. There shouldn't be a baby. There's no reason there would be a baby with them. And so he's thinking, okay, I know they're at their house, so this is weird. Why is there a baby? And then he also realizes that this man has not mentioned my dad at all, which you would think that he would say, I have your parents, or I've done something to your dad, and now I have your mom, or whatever. So he has not mentioned my dad at all. He's seemingly calling from my mom's phone, so he knows that my mom has her phone, and he also knows that they are at home together. So at this point, he decides to hang up. He hangs up the phone because he's like, this is weird. I don't think this is legit. So he hangs up the phone and he calls 911, and they confirmed that basically this is a scam that is going around. They're aware of it, but they're going to send a car to the house just to drive by and see if everything's okay. So at this point, my brother feels a little bit relieved, but he gets in the car to drive towards my parents' house anyway because my mom and dad are still not answering their phone. He gets about a quarter of the way there, and then At that point, my mom finally answers her phone, and she's been asleep this whole time, and everything is totally fine, which is such a relief. We were lucky enough to have not lost any money in it. Everything was fine. My parents were fine. The whole family was fine. But is that not the craziest thing you've ever heard? I am so shook by it. It is such a traumatic way to scam somebody. Like, horrifying. Like, not only like they ask for $2,500, which in the grand scheme of things is not that much money, and that's why they do it. I looked it up and I did a little bit of research on it, and apparently they ask for that amount of money because it's an amount of money that most people could give up if they felt like a family member was in danger. But it's, you know, it's just enough for the predator to get some money, but it's not so much that it would be hard for, you know, the general population to obtain or flagged by a bank, et cetera, et cetera. But it's also just crazy that they do it in the middle of the night, or at least they did for us, because they do it at a time that, like, number one, you're disoriented and like vulnerable. And number two, like, you're not able to get a hold of anybody that, like, to confirm that this is happening or not happening. And so it is just like, it's so low and traumatic for anybody to receive a call like that. And I just feel like everybody needs to know about it. And again, I feel like it has been circulating on like social media, so a lot of people might already know about this, but if you don't, you need to. So anyway, I wanted to hop.
Okay. Speaking of, you know, things to be aware of, I think that this Baba is something to be aware of. Let's jump into a little breakdown here, including about this sort of sell-off that may or may not have really been warranted. Pretty crazy times, and we'll jump into that right here. And the move on Bitcoin up, whether that is or is not related at 11:15. This was at, boy, 10:15. But yeah, as we just saw, looking at MP, right? Blah blah. This was on the Friday. Must obtain approval to export certain products containing rare earth minerals. So, all right, let's jump into a breakdown here. If you haven't hit that like button, hit that like button. I can see your comments over on YouTube. And let's get going here. Okay. So, there is one stock that is about to jump up, in my opinion. It is a US listed Chinese company, similar to Amazon, and you might say, okay, wait a second. A Chinese company is a good stock idea right now, just days after the US market dropped 3-4% in a day, the biggest drop in months. Days after Trump announced that he's going to levy tariffs on China because they're going to be more restrictive in supplying the US with rare earth materials. So, yeah, there are some tensions there. But what happened with this Chinese company, the ticker is Baba, Alibaba, BABA, is it dropped a lot on this Trump announcement. And it went down for several days, not just yesterday. It was already coming down coming into yesterday. Yesterday being Friday. So the last business day, last market open day. So what that meant is that there was a capitulation opportunity. Like at some point, there is a capitulation opportunity. It hasn't really happened yet, which is why I'm telling you about it in this video. The stock is going to go up at some point. So let's look at the chart. Let's see when the selling's going to stop. Let's look at a little bit about the market as a whole. I'm not here to say what's going to happen with the market because that's not something that anyone knows the answer to, but everyone wants the answer to it, so we talk about it anyway. So hit that like button if you like these ideas, and let's get started.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
So here is all the news that came out on a stock called MP Materials, which is a rare earth company. You can see that stock went up like 10%, ish, sort of drifted down after hours a little bit. But on the news, you can see the market in the background. That's the green line that went down a few percent from 670 down to about 650 over the course of the day on Trump's announcement that, he's considering an increase in tariffs on Chinese products. Okay. So the sector, that's the rare earth sector, gained after China's Commerce Ministry announced that foreign suppliers must obtain approval to export certain products containing rare earth materials. Now that's a mouthful, but if we read that again, it says that they must obtain approval to export certain products containing rare earth materials. So it's not that they cannot export products. It's only certain products, and it's not they cannot, it's that they must obtain approval. So this is a rare earth scare, and the rare earth companies that are US centric did go up. But at the same time, this is not like an indictment on Chinese companies. It's not an indictment on the Chinese-US relations. So I'm not here to tell you that the market's not going to, go down again on tomorrow, which is Monday, and then drift down and digest more somewhere around 640 or something, and then start to work its way up. It could, and there's a smaller chance than that it could even this could be the beginning of a larger sell-off, and we might get somewhere above this level, probably not below this level. But all this to say, why don't we not worry about what exactly is going to happen? Because you probably don't have all your money in SPY if you're watching this video anyway, right? If you bought the index, sure, you're freaking out on Friday because you just hear that the market went down a bunch, all your money's in the quote-unquote market, and maybe you saw your portfolio take a 4 or 5% dip from whatever it is. Let's say it's $1 million portfolio, and it went down to 960K or something like that. So look, is this scary if you're totally all in on the market? It is. But if you're a long-term, medium-term investor in individual stocks, not only did some rare earth companies go up for the obvious reason that they're connected to, U.S. rare earth independence, also some nuclear companies went up. Oklo being the one that's probably the biggest breakout opportunity regardless. You look at these other ones and they obviously were pretty wrecked by the market, even the uranium names as well. Besides UUUU and DNN, those did all right actually. And it's going to be hard for me to explain exactly why that happened, but not everything is explainable. And it seems like the leader for nuclear is not SMR and NNE. NNE's always been the laggard, really. But sort of cementing its leadership on Friday's move is Oklo. And it's like, why does nuclear go up? Well, because if rare earth is more cut off, then an energy source that is independent to the U.S., located in the U.S., is more attractive, investable. And that's Oklo nuclear reactors, even if they're a couple years off. Now, that's all the backdrop to what we're talking about here, which was Alibaba. And these are these other days. This is actually a green day. I mean, technically. And when I say technically, that means actually. So this went down. This was actually a green day. And then this went down again. And then Friday it went down again. But this was mainly, driven by the market, you could say. So it's kind of like AMD in the sense that it was up a lot, and then Friday's move, AMD did have a red day before Friday's move, brought it back to a more favorable level where you can buy this. So could it go sideways first before it goes up? It could, but the great thing about BABA is that it was already going down, and then it got absolutely crushed on Friday. So sorry to BABA investors, but for new investors, it's pretty interesting. This left side peak, if it holds this 50-day moving average, so you could get some digestion, or you could get a little rebound on Monday directly. So that's the idea. That's BABA. Now let's jump into what the heck is happening, right? So as of today, Sunday, Bitcoin is actually up a little bit, and you can sort of see that move up around whatever it is, 10:30. This is Eastern time, and I'm not here to say that this is something you have to concern yourself with, but I'm just saying if you look on the daily, Friday was gnarly, huge wick down from all the way down to like 100K, bought right back up, big 10% bounce. Saturday pretty much did nothing, obviously an inside day given this day is disgustingly rangy. And then today also maybe, similar size to Saturday, but it's green. And it seems like part of the reason why it's green might be this language you're talking about right in the beginning. China's Commerce Ministry announced that foreign suppliers must obtain approval to export certain products containing rare earth materials. So it's not an all-out assault on rare earth companies that use China rare earths. So what happened? Well, here's some speculation, right? This is a little crazy, okay? But, maybe it was all one big misunderstanding, okay? And so this is quoting this thing, and it's basically saying that the news about China's rare earth controls came out October 9th at 8:30 a.m., a full day plus before Trump posted about it. So it didn't matter until Trump posted. So kind of the dealio is that maybe, Trump and others didn't really read the fine print on what China was saying. And this is what China is trying to clarify, I guess, is that it's not a full export ban if the applications meet regulations. In other words, the usage of the rare earth is within regulations. It'll still be approved by China. So, with all that said, we don't know exactly if this is all, exactly what happened, but this is the bottom line. The odds of Trump's 100% tariff on China going into effect are extremely low if we consider their response to be pretty measured, right? That it's not a full export ban. They're still going to be approving some amount of rare earth companies' products to be exported out of China. So, yeah, maybe it was all big one misunderstanding, a pretty costly misunderstanding, but still only extremely costly really if you were in these altcoins, which I'm not even going to pull up the charts for the altcoins, partially because I don't even know what the altcoin charts look like. But Bitcoin was, pretty badly crushed. That's like 10% plus, 15% plus. Big bounce up 10%. My percents are all out of whack. Whatever it was, 120 to 100, and then back to 110. Yeah, that pretty much checks out. 15% down, 10% up, something like that. So now we had a little red day yesterday, a little green day today, and it seems like part of the green day move might be because of the sort of gradual seeping out of this information, sort of widespread agreement amongst the investor community that, hey, actually what happened was China said that they're not going to export rare earth products without, giving them a one-over and making sure they meet regulations. So could be all good. BABA is the idea. That's the level. Could digest here, could bounce up before that. Small chance that this is something overblown that we haven't even, talked about, it's not overblown, but actually this could be a blow up situation and BABA goes down much more along with the market. But if that does that everything's going to be going down. So that's a situation that is unlikely and probably not worth covering in this video. If you held your stocks going into Friday, which almost everyone was, yeah, I mean, a lot of your stocks went down, okay? If you were holding AMD, it went down. But if you haven't bought any stocks that like recently went up, now's an opportunity to get into them, right? Because they pulled back to a level you can buy. And you can buy this AMD here. You can buy this BABA here off this left side peak. And MP Materials, one of the few sectors that went up, rare earths in the US, you can probably buy that too off of this level. I'm saying probably because it depends on exactly what happens with futures. Maybe we gap down, at which point you can't really buy it off this level, right? Because it's below that level. But maybe we gap up and you can use that level. So we'll see what happens. As always, we don't know. I don't know. But if you like these ideas, and you've certainly been paying attention to the market, which I think the whole world was on Friday, I think a way to get a little more granular is to say, hey, what are some stocks to rotate into or to pick up, do some shopping? I think BABA might be on that list. So if you like these ideas, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe. And I do talk about these ideas in a community called stockscommunity.com. Some of these ideas, these videos come out a little delayed. You probably noticed. It's not totally my intent to like purposefully put these out late to make the community more of like a real-time place. But I have responded to comments a little less often here on YouTube. As you know, some of the comments on YouTube are also not like super constructive anyway. So DMs are a great place to talk, and if you want to talk, head over there. I will see you in the next one.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
All right, let's jump into a little more Chris Sane here.
Hop on and talk about it to hopefully save somebody just the mental anguish of receiving a call like this out of the blue. At least maybe now you'll have seen this video and you'll have at least some peace of mind or just like an inkling that it could be not true. Share this with your friends, spread the word, because this is just the most predatory, low thing ever.
Today I was the victim of phone fraud. Somebody called saying that they were from my bank, from the fraud department of my credit card, that there were fraudulent charges on my card. He asked to verify, he verified them, asked me if I did them, and I said no.
Okay,
and
hello.
he said, okay, I'm gonna cancel your card right away, like, I'm gonna help you out, don't worry about it. He somehow already had access to, like, see my transactions on that card, so he went through, like, the most recent ones, and asked me, like, is this legitimate, is this legitimate? I was like, yes, like, that I know. And then he somehow got access to, I didn't give him any passwords, nothing. He, like, already had stuff. He just asked me for, like, normal verification questions. And he was somehow able to access my account, and he wiped my checking and my savings clean. I've reported it to BMO fraud, and I'm going to the police station now to report it as well. Just be so careful when people call you. Please, just be careful.
$106,000 was stolen from my husband and I this past weekend by an online scammer, and we will not be getting any of our money back. It is gone. So this is what happened. I got a phone call saying someone was trying to log into our account and steal our money, and they suggested changing the password. They gave him a secure link to log in, asked for the code, and yada yada. That was their access into our account. So it went from 106 to 0 in the blink of an eye. And we immediately went to the police department. We've been in contact with the FBI, but you don't get your money back when scams like this happen. And we had a pretty rough weekend. We cried it out. We did all the things. I'm not going to get on this app and cry, but essentially, after a bad weekend, this is where we've landed. I know God is always going to provide for us. We have hit our knees in prayer, and I fully believe we are going to be just fine. God never promised that bad things won't happen to good people. Everyone's going to go through trials, but He.
So be careful out there, guys. Let's jump into a little breakdown on a stock here. This is a nuclear energy stock. Pretty interesting here. So I can see those comments on YouTube, and yeah, let's get going. So there is one stock that is about to go up. In my opinion, it is a nuclear energy stock, and with the sell-off on Friday, where could have been a misunderstanding, news is slowly starting to filter out that Trump and Xi, the Chinese president, all-powerful entity, may have had a bit of a misunderstanding. So market might bounce up, but SparkNote's quick summary was China said, hey, we're not going to allow all rare earth products, all rare earth companies to export our rare earths to the US. And Trump was saying, all right, well, fine, we're going to put tariffs on Chinese products. So the market went down a bunch. We really don't like the sound of tariffs. Tariffs cause the market to go down 20% or more in the beginning of the year. And maybe this little move on Friday was just a blip, but no matter what it was, there are some companies that will benefit. And I think Oklo, the initially Sam Altman-backed nuclear energy stock company, is well positioned. So let's jump into the chart and a little bit about the company and see if it's actually wise to be investing in all these companies, even as the market has some uncertainty. Hit that like button if you like this commentary.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
So this is a little bit about OKLO. Yeah, it's been going up a lot. They were part of this Department of Energy pilot in just a couple of months ago. So obviously they've been in the conversation for a while. OKLO, SMR, NNE are the nuclear companies, but they're definitely confident in OKLO. Sam Altman has the direct line to the president for sure. And yeah, they are starting construction, and it's expected to be operational in 2027 in Idaho. So, I mean, that's pretty soon for nuclear. It may not seem like investable, but it's definitely public market investable at this point. Another $1 billion plus nuclear fuel recycling facility in Tennessee. So that helps the sustainability angle, which is super helpful to get everybody on board for nuclear, because I mean, no nukes has been the tagline for decades. So here's the deal. Is buying this company kind of insane when it's up 1,800% in the last year plus? Maybe, but look at NVIDIA. We're going to have to zoom out more for that one, but I mean, it did go from, say, $15 to 200,000%. And NVIDIA is the biggest company in the world. So I don't think we can really undersell a stock like Oklo. Do you want to just hop in and not worry about it? Definitely not. You do want to be a little bit careful. There is a sort of level that's interesting here, which is this 140s. So the big news, of course, as of now, everyone's talking about is the market went down a lot on Friday. And I don't know if people are talking about this or not all around, but Oklo went up, okay? So, of course, the rare earth companies went up. CRML, USAR, MP come to mind. But Oklo went up as well. So, why did that happen? And why is Oklo a good buy? Let's make sure we sort of keep on top of that. So, this is the uranium. HELEU is the uranium, and there's some for nuclear reactors, and there's some companies that you can buy, the uranium itself that actually went up as well. UUUU and DNN. LEU not so much, but maybe LEU was already pretty extended. So hard to say ever exactly what happens, why it happens, but I mean, this thing was up a lot. So for it to get sold off, there were some other sort of candles like that. I mean, BBAI, NVTS. Well, this is actually closed green, but big spikes up and then just smashed to bits. So yeah, I think Oklo, not so much a big spike and then smashed to bits, more of just like a green day with it certainly came down a little bit with the market, but it's stuck up there is the big deal, and even into after hours. So this isn't a day trading informational, but occasionally it never hurts to take a look at the structure of an individual day to get a hint at what might happen the next few days, particularly tomorrow when we get more color on what the heck happened here. Okay, the market went down 4% in a single day, did have this big bounce. Of course, if you were in crypto, you got absolutely smoked. Bitcoin and Ethereum going down more than 10%, and then having significant bounces, but still pretty horrifying if you're leveraged on those, which of course is not something I would ever talk about. But real question is, coming into futures at 6 p.m. tonight and then market open tomorrow, are we going to have a little bit of a gap up, or at least a sideways sort of action, some digestion before we start to move up? And I think a smaller likelihood is that we start to move down. And the reason I'm saying that is, well, it seems like not only are there some companies that stayed up, like Oklo, but it also sounds like this whole just smorgasbord of selling was actually a bit of a misunderstanding. So it seems like China is not going to just ban all rare earth supply to the US. They actually just want to make sure it's approved. Foreign suppliers must obtain approval to export certain products containing rare earth materials. So Trump, of course, his tweet or truth or whatever you want to call it, definitely rocked the markets in a bad way. But as that misunderstanding, I think, maybe starts to get fleshed out a little bit, it seems like it could actually be okay. And we could see a little bit of a digestion at the least, and maybe a little bit of a start to drift upward. So if that happens, I think Oklo is the place to be. The screen day is great, and it already was sort of shaping up as sort of a flag that everyone sees, like this thing could go up. So did kind of already go, but again, with the market being so depressed on Friday, this isn't like chasing a breakout, I think. This is just an example of strength in a sector that actually sort of makes sense as to why it went up. So this is sort of the reasoning, which checks out, I think. Here's the deal. You need rare earths for nuclear, actually, for the magnets, but as well as for a lot of other new energy sources like wind, and then just motors in general. So they're super important. These magnets do appear in nuclear reactors, but I think really this is about number 2 here, which is that nuclear energy reduces dependence on imported energy, and even more than that, number 3, nuclear projects are intertwined with government support for rare earths. That's the big one. So as more and more rare earth companies sort of get approval to expand their mines, refine the metals, like with smelting or whatever the experts call it. There's going to be a push for nuclear as well. So I don't know how much funding is going to come in the near term. No one knows. But the policies that promote rare earth also promote nuclear energy. So, easier permitting, pilot projects. We already talked about that pilot project that OKLO was in. Incentivizing domestic energy production. And the government's already shown some big interest in rare earth independence. For example, this MP Materials $400 million Department of Defense funding. So, this is positive, this is bullish, and we have to think that there could be some sort of shuffling of, if rare earths are super important for reactor components, then yeah, it could take a while to get US rare earths ramped up to the point where they can be used in, for example, OKLOs, which is the leading small nuclear reactor company's reactors. I don't know the specific technical name for where the magnets are used, but we'll just say they're used in the reactors, right? We're investors. So if that takes a while, yeah, it could take a while for OKLO to become more valuable as well. But the point is that they're so linked that they go up together. So we don't have to know exactly what happens in what order. We don't need a visual map. I'm pretty sure this map is not going to be good either way. ChatGPT is not great, but that's a sort of Venn diagram stuff. OKLO went up. USAR went up. MP went up. CRML went up. The most important one, in my opinion, that's tied to government is MP with that $400 million investment, and the Apple investment, $500 million. Well, Apple investment, whatever it was, agreement to buy rare earths from MP for Apple. And OKLO seems like the stock to buy. That's a nuclear stock. So those are the levels. That's the sort of hazy understanding of what's going on, which is about all we need. I think the most important thing at this point is watch what happens the next few days in the market. Watch what happens to these nuclear companies. You don't really need SMR and NNE to do well for OKLO to do well. I mean, they've done fine. They've, tripled. Fine. Tripled is pretty awesome, actually. They've done great. It's just that OKLO has just been a far and away leader that it's almost silly to look at the other ones, especially on a day like Friday where OKLO went up and those other ones did not. So that's the idea. If you like these ideas, hit that like button. And if you haven't hit that subscribe, hit that subscribe. There is a community. I'm not sure if you've noticed, there's a banner on the bottom of the screen. It says join for $25 at stockscommunity.com. You can hop in there for 7 days, try it out. And if you like it, you continue on. Ask me anything in there. Weekly live stream Q&A. So if you have questions about your portfolio, that is the place to ask them. And I will see you in the next one.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
All right, let's go back to some Chris Sane here. Hopefully we're sort of getting to the end of this scam informational, but I'm not saying it's not important to be informed.
He did promise he will be there with us through the storm, and that is exactly how I feel now. That account was, not going to make or break our life. We are very blessed to have a roof over our head. We have secure jobs. Our children are healthy and safe. But that account was an investment in our future. It was going to help us pay for college or retirement, whatever we wanted it to be. But it was a luxury, not a necessity. We will be okay. But at the same time, it was a luxury that was only available because of my husband's hard work. He worked for years to build that account, and we have a newborn. She's a month old, and Matt has been putting in 12, 14-hour days at work every day to provide for us because he is such a hard worker. He works his ass off to provide for us. And yeah, the sleep deprivation got to him. He got a phone call in the middle of a nap. When you wake up from a nap and you're like, what time is it? What planet am I on? And that's what happened. The scammers took advantage of that, and if it was any other day, probably would have never fell for that. He knows better, but it was just the perfect storm of he was exhausted and didn't know what was going on and just trusted the phone call, and here we are.
Like I said, guys, it is getting very, very crazy out here. I want you to take extra precaution. This is why I want you also to make sure that you are on top of your game, that you are actively managing your situation. Because I often say, if you give them the power to feed you, you give them the power to starve you and do anything else they want to do, such as cause you to miss your paycheck, miss hard-earned money you work for. In the stock market, when you learn how to invest and build wealth for yourself, you don't have to succumb to that, man. Listen, hopefully you guys are taking care of yourselves. Hopefully you guys are staying afloat the best you can. Regardless of that, though, the storm and trouble don't last always, man. Keep your head up. Coach will catch you in the next one. Peace.
There we go. Now we can talk about stocks.
What's up, YouTube? Listen, family, today I want to teach you and show you what typically happens right before a financial crisis and or a stock market crash, okay? I want you to be ready, though, because this is how we become millionaires. This is how we make the most money, okay? This ain't the time to panic. This ain't the time to run up out the market, okay? So I need you to keep it locked. I need you to stay 10 toes down. Learn this lesson I'm going to teach you today. Be ready to crack their head on Monday, okay? Let's go ahead and dive into it. All right, man, class is in session. I'm bringing out the charts. I know ain't nobody nowhere teaching you this and you can't find it in the book. So please follow along as I try my best to show you what's going on. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I got Tesla pulled up, okay? I want to show you how to make 100K on Tesla, or how I make 30K in a day, and how you can do the same, okay?
Sounds interesting. All right, let's jump into a little breakdown here on Bloom Energy and the market as a whole. I do think this company is pretty interesting. They do fuel cells. So let's talk a little bit about what they actually do, how they're data center related. Yeah. So here we go. Hit that like button on the live if you like it. I can see comments over from YouTube. And let's get cooking here. There is one stock that is about to explode in a good way. It is a fuel cell stock. Fuel cells are like the batteries. They help create energy. They're super helpful for warehouses, for data centers, importantly, to have this new energy source. It's hydrogen fuel cells. So I don't know that you're super excited about the market right now. I'm not, given that we just had that 4% pullback on Friday, pretty much erasing all of September's gains. Turns out that sort of pullback may have been a little bit of a misunderstanding between China and the US, between China saying, hey, you know, you can have some of our rare earths, but we have to make sure we approve them before they get exported. And then Trump's tweet, truth post was kind of like, we're going to put tariffs on you. Tariffs, that word really scares the market. So we'll see what happens with the market as a whole. It will impact this company, Bloom Energy. BE is the ticker. But this company is good regardless, given that it powers data centers. And data centers are going to need the power to scale up. And of course, we need AI because that's what everyone in the world is using on a daily basis with ChatGPT and the like. So let's jump into this. Hit that like button if you like it. And I think this is the stock to buy right now.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
So here's a little bit of information about Bloom Energy and fuel cells. Kind of already putting me to sleep, but essentially it's not like your engine in your car, and it's not like a battery. It continuously produces electricity as long as it has fuel and whatever that is. So probably not like a Hindenburg, blowing up blimp situation at this point. That was years ago, and highly efficient. So people are not worried as much about, fuel cells, about nuclear facilities. It's all happening. It's clean, and the company to do it is Bloom Energy. So let's take a look at the chart and why we'd be interested in this regardless of what it does. So crazy run from August through September, above 200%, 20 to 80 is absolutely wild. But notably, there is a level to buy it off of here, sort of in like the 86s. So that's probably most interesting. Maybe you're someone who is like, yeah, well, it's going to go under here, cut under here, and then, just rock it back up like in sort of a rally cry situation. I don't know that is super believable. I mean, there are companies that kind of do that. Like they kind of, break out from a level, and then you could say they go back under and then go back up. But you don't have to be like looking at these every single day, these charts every single day. I'm looking at Rocket Lab because was it easy to catch this break out? Not necessarily. But if we break this down, we can say that, well, maybe you bought in here, looking for this breakout, and then maybe you got stopped out. Okay, that's fine. So you take a little loss of 0.5%, 1%. Maybe, you actually got chopped out twice. Maybe this didn't work. You take another % loss. And then you're down here, maybe down at this point, you're like, you know what? Like, I'm not waiting for this breakout. I'm going to get in here. And so, fine. Maybe you get in here and like maybe it goes down 0.5% and you just like roll with it. And then you essentially are well positioned to get a sort of move like that. So am I saying that's going to happen with Bloom Energy? No. I'm just saying, look, we already sort of fake breaked out once, and then, maybe that'll happen again. But at some point, when you get these compressed days, this day is actually pretty compressed, even though it doesn't look like it. It did go down, whatever it is, 86 to 82, whatever % that is. My % thing is messed up because it's covered. But you can see this distance is from a high of 92 to a low of 82 pretty much. So 10, it's a little more than 10% in a single day, which is a lot. But this shark in the background, this green thing in the background, that's the market. So the market definitely had a nasty down day. So it's not surprising this went down. So this is actually relative strength to the market, given a lot of other stocks on that particular day absolutely got crushed. And you can look at big caps, which essentially are going to match up with the market. But even if we look at some smaller names, although there were some that held up, Iron data centers sort of held up. RGTI was a quantum name that held up really well. I do think that based on the overall pattern, you can't be buying this up here, right? That's crazy. Same deal with data center play. This used to be a crypto miner, right? But now they're doing AI infrastructure data centers. They can just repurpose the GPUs. So I do think that this Bloom Energy is just better positioned because it already had this retracement and then it showed some strength, and now it's coming back to this level, which is super interesting. You do have to be careful with holding into earnings, but those are actually not for just over 2 weeks, October 28th. So that is the idea, Bloom Energy. That's sort of what to look for to buy it. And to make sure you sort of see a little more information about it, here's the deal. They have some partnership with CoreWeave and Oracle to get those fuel cells into those data centers. And those are the behemoths. I mean, CoreWeave is an IPO, but it's still very much in the conversation, even though it did pull back on Friday, of course. It really didn't pull back that much compared to the massive red candle in the SPY. So CoreWeave has been pretty ugly. It's just sort of marching up. It just has these moves up and then pulls back and then has these wicks and then pulls back. But it is marching up. It is grinding up off this red line, which is the 50-day moving average, 20-day actually. This one is the 50-day. So it's bullish. I mean, I don't know exactly how to get positioned in a stock like this. Maybe you risk off a level like this or this line, but it's certainly been a difficult one. I think Bloom Energy is easier. That's sort of a line to do it. Oracle is another one that has been a little choppy and difficult, and actually went down when we found out that they sort of might not be able to lease out all those OpenAI chips, or if they do lease them out, they don't have as good a margin. So it's a learning experience. This whole, NVIDIA invests in companies and then those companies go and buy NVIDIA's chips. It's sort of uncharted territory, except you could say maybe it's not so uncharted because this is what happened in the late 90s with the whole Cisco situation. And yeah, there's definitely a little bit of hesitation about Oracle as far as what forecasts financials are accurate, how much of those chips are actually going to be utilized. So just because there's these big flashy $100 billion investments, NVIDIA investing in OpenAI buying AMD chips, all that, OpenAI agreeing to buy 30-40 billion of Oracle chips. If Oracle's losing 100 million for renting out their chips, then it's like, okay, this is starting to unravel. But I mean, the stock's actually holding up pretty well after earnings, so I think that's largely overblown. I think this whole ecosystem with Oracle, CoreWeave, and Bloom Energy is certainly intact, even after some of these massive runs. I think the market did sell off, of course, and Bloom Energy was, affected by that sell-off as well. And despite all of that uncertainty, I still think that there are companies to buy. And I've talked about Oklo, I've talked about MP, I've talked about AMD. There's a lot to be excited about here. Alibaba as well, with this sell-off being just, accelerated by Friday's move. But I do think that Bloom Energy is right in the mix with those, and it actually barely sold off at all. So this isn't like a buy the dip opportunity like BABA. It's more of a risk very little, and you're probably going to do all right. I mean, if it only moved this much down on this massive red day, it almost was a green day. It open was pretty close to the close. I don't think this is that risky. So yeah, that's about the worst you can expect, which is it's a 10% move, but this is a stock that it's an $80 stock. It's not like you're putting a huge amount of your net worth in this anyway. I hope. So that's the idea. That's Bloom Energy. If you like these ideas, hit that like button. If you like talking about these ideas, head over to stockscommunity.com. You can try it out for $25 for 7 days. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit that subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This